I'm like, I was a little, have some breathing room.
How to go back out again.
Breathing room is good. Just didn't think, it was like, oh. How are you? Good, how you doing there, Loftus? How's it going, beautiful girl? Oh, all right.
right. We have the money. We have the right. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order a regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Goshen Central School District being held on Monday, November 4th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. in the District Administration Building and live streamed on YouTube.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to jump right in here with our next agenda item. I need a motion for the approval of the ex officio student board member, John and Scott. Be it resolved that the Board of Education approves high school student Francesca Zuccaro to serve as the non-voting ex officio member of the Goshen Central School District Board of Education, effective for the 2024-2025 school year. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. You're officially part of the group now. Congrats. All right. Moving on to our next item, I'll turn it over to Dr. Coates.
So we never get this many people at a board meeting. I feel excited. It's a great night when we're able to come together to celebrate someone's career and celebrate such a great person's career. So I'm going to be the first to wish you congratulations, and without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Carter and Dr. Wentworth to make this formal presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Coates. Well, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We're thrilled that you brought your family and many friends from GIS and many familiar faces. So let's call Dr. Wentworth up and we'll say a little about you and get ready to celebrate your 10-year appointment.
Do you want me at the mic?
Wherever you like.
I'm at the podium. It's easier.
Let's see here.
Okay, so good evening. I want to begin by thanking the Board of Education for the opportunity to recommend Valerie Knapp for tenure. Just a few things about her that I shared with the board already, but share with everyone else. Valerie has absolutely innovative teaching styles. She makes learning enjoyable through singing, dancing, humor, creating a positive classroom environment where students thrive. It's always a joy to be in her room. The students are engaged entirely throughout all of her lessons and always reflecting her belief that joyful learning leads to greater growth. It's something you'll see in her classroom and when she's also on stage or behind stage doing the drama club. One point that's very impressive is since joining GIS in 2020, Valerie's completed over 323 hours of professional development. I think that's an old number now too. I think it's gone up a little higher since I wrote this. And since joining Goshen in 2015, she has over 826 hours of professional development under her belt, just showing her commitment to our students. She's also a large part of our extracurricular leadership. She takes leadership roles in almost everything she does. She is the founder and director of our drama club since 2022. She's led the club to produce 3 shows with a 4th show in progress, which is still a surprise.
Yeah, you can't tell, don't say anything now.
But honestly has not only done well with that, but has helped and collaborated with PTO to bring in a lot of not just funds to make that show better and more opportunities for students, also improving our auditorium at GIS immensely. She's also participated in the talent show in the past, which I believe has been dinosaurs
And mustache and musician.
She's also one of our Choose Love flock leaders at the moment, which is helping us to promote social emotional learning, kindness, and community. She's been on our data team, both our original or our OG data team, but also our grade 3 data team, really bringing grade level data in to support consistent and data-driven approaches to student success. And I guess the last thing I'll say about her is she just has a truly collaborative spirit. She's always willing to jump up. She's always got a smile on, and even when it's a rough day, she goes to her colleagues, she goes to us, and we work things out. And she's just the fact that she's constantly learning and improving is exactly what we want at GIS. So she definitely exemplifies the qualities of an outstanding educator, and it's my pleasure to recommend her for tenure to the Board of Education.
Right away.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Right, I need a motion to appoint the tenure candidate, Valentine. John and Ashley. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the tenure appointment of Valerie Knapp in the tenure area of elementary education effective November 5th, 2024. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Official congratulations. I need a motion to take a small recess to have a quick celebration.
Oh.
Ready?
So.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. All right, we'll be back shortly, everybody. Congratulations. All right.
Yes.
Back. All right, thank you, everybody. I need a motion to reconvene the meeting. Ashley, Brett, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, great. Let's continue on. I don't believe we have any signups for privilege of the floor. Very good. Just a quick note about privilege of the floor. I just wanted to let the folks know who are listening that we will do our best to uphold any policies that we put forward. We have this whole piece of paper we read every time that's in our policy, in our governance handbook. It's been past practice to let folks say what they want. Try not to cut them off a few times when we've had a lot of signups. We've had to use the timer. I'll continue to do my best to make sure no one says names or titles as per our policy. So we'll keep that moving forward, and I'll probably say the same thing next week. So we have more folks here in the audience, but we'll keep doing our best. All right. All right, moving on to our next item. Just a few things I'd like to report on. Just a couple of congratulations and well wishes for all of our student athletes who are going into sections and final championships for our, fall season here. Good luck to all of you. And congratulations, I had a chance to go to the NJHS induction ceremony over at CJ. That was really fantastic. So congratulations to all the students out there who were inducted into the National Junior Honor Society. And we just had the play at CJ Hooker and also at Goshen High School. The acting club and the students at the high school both did their plays. They did Charlie Brown and also Treasure Island. And really, if you had a chance to see those shows, the kids outdone themselves. They really put on a fantastic performance. So big congratulations to all our student performers, all our administrations and teachers that really helped put that together. You guys did a really great job. Some fantastic shows, and it just kind of marks the start of the performance season, which is always a really fun and exciting time as we move forward here. So big congratulations to everybody on all the hard work and the honors received. All right, moving on to our next item, our student representative report. Francesca Scarpa.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. You took the words right out of my mouth. The high school's athletic programs are thriving, particularly in soccer. The boys soccer team recently won their section semifinals and is advancing further in the competition. Meanwhile, the girls soccer team is competing in their own section semifinals tonight. Best of luck to them. Additionally, the high school drama club presented their successful performance of Treasure Island this past weekend. Congratulations to the cast and crew. There are no major updates at the middle school at this time, but a great show put on by CJ Hooker Drama Club. And also, conferences are coming up, so be sure to check your email. The intermediate school held its pie run this past weekend, which is a great success, bringing together students, staff, and families for a fun and active event. And lastly, the GIS PTO and SAS PTO have joined forces for a month-long toiletry drive. Families are encouraged to participate by bringing in items which will support community members in need. The drive runs through to the end of the month, and contributions are greatly appreciated. Thank you, and I look forward to it.
All right, thank you very much, Francesca, and I promise I didn't sneak over there and look at your notes. We had a lot of the same thoughts there. All right. Moving on to our next item, our legislative update, Mr. John Sullivan.
No update for this meeting. We are meeting this week, so I look forward to having an update for our next meeting.
All right, thank you very much. All right, do we have any other board member committee reports that anybody would like to share? Policy just keeps on meeting. Okay, moving on then. Policy committee recently met and reviewed the policies that was presented. Did everybody have an opportunity to take a look at them and review? Yes. All right, fantastic. So we'll move on then to our superintendent's report, Dr. Curtis Coates.
Thank you, Mr. Leftis. So I want to start by echoing my congratulations to both of our sets of our students in our drama programs. They were truly, as Mr. Leftis said, really incredible shows to see. Treasure Island, I was just amazed at how they were able to hold the lines together, and some using the English brogue, if you will, that they could carry it out as quickly and as seamlessly as they did, but both shows were absolutely fantastic. The first agenda item that I want to discuss with the board tonight is around our Erie Street Park potential referendum. So we were waiting for the Village of Goshen to agree to the terms and conditions for them to cover the expenses of the vote. And this week they did reach out to Mrs. Farrell and I to let us know that last Monday they ratified the terms and conditions as were requested by the Board of Education. So we're at a position now where the board, if it so chooses, could go forward, set the referendum date, pass the seeker resolution. One of the only things that I wanted to bring to the board's attention, Mrs. Farrell has done a good job at backing out the timeline for when a potential vote could be. And as of now, from where we stand, we would be living comfortably at a vote in the middle of January, more specifically January 14th. That being said, if the board does go forward tonight to set the referendum, one of the things that we would ask the board is to take Monday's meeting, the regularly scheduled meeting that is on the calendar for the 13th, move that to Wednesday, the 15th, if you choose to set the meeting, set the vote for the 14th. That way, two things could transpire. Number one, this room could get set up easily for the vote because we would hold the vote in this room. And second to that, you could approve the result of the vote at the meeting on Wednesday, the 15th. So I'll pause there. I'm glad to answer any questions, address any concerns, but I just wanted to make sure that I got all that information out to the board.
No question. Anybody want to check their calendars before we? Good. Okay.
So,
Right, great.
so there are resolutions in your packet to be able to move forward tonight to be able to set that vote. And if the board approves it, we'll make sure that we notify the village tomorrow.
Any questions on the specific resolutions that anybody may have had? No. Excellent, thank you.
Going to move on then to the next piece. I've been communicating with the board that we've been watching very closely Governor Hochul's advocacy for a statewide ban for smartphones in schools. And this past week, she had an opportunity to meet with the State Superintendent's Association, the School Boards Association, the Building Level Administrators Association, PTA, and United Teachers. Out of that, she made somewhat of a forthright statement that is her intent with the budget process for the new year to set forth what she referred to as a bell-to-bell ban of all personal internet devices, which would be inclusive of cell phones, to be attached essentially to the budget process for the new year. So that being said, I think it is time that we put together a district-wide committee to consider a variety of different things. Number one, also what she shared when she met with that group this past week was that enforcement and organization, if you will, would be left at the local level. So we would have to really have some conversations on what we would want that to look like. There are some neighboring school districts already in the county. Middletown has moved forward already and put a bell-to-bell ban in. I also learned that Newburgh schools have done the same. But I think it's time that we start to learn what some of our neighbors around us have done and start to have some conversations that if this goes forward and it passes, that we are prepared to be able to make the shift. The other thing to keep in mind too, your acceptable use policy is part of your code of conduct. And we know that the Board of Education just updated the code of conduct and we heavily predicated it on teaching responsible use. We would have to make a shift and make some language changes in there, and that would be the benefit of drawing together a bona fide committee, students, parents, teachers, administrators, make sure that everyone has a voice in the process of what that might look like. Pause there for a minute. I can address any questions.
Did the governor elaborate ban on use, ban on possession?
She did not. She, and I kind of quoted her verbatim. She said there will be a proposal for a bell-to-bell ban on all personal internet devices accompanying this proposed state budget in January. She didn't mind being the quote unquote heavy on this, and many teachers and administrators told her this was the only way that they thought this could get done. So she did not explain anything beyond that.
So do we have an idea when we would possibly get definitions? Because it's kind of difficult to change our code of conduct or do anything really without the knowledge of what her intent is.
We wouldn't definitively know unless the legislation passes. We'd get a proposal with the budget. And I'm sure the legislature would push it back and forth several times, but we would not know until, and it might not pass. The legislature might say no. But I do think it's time, again, I just think it's time we initiate conversation on the what ifs, because we've sat back and we've watched for a while and it looks like she is gonna put something forward. So I'd rather be ready with multiple scenarios after meeting with the stakeholder group. Because the reality is the legislature could say no, because you get into some parts of the state, there's been very loud advocacy for this to stay a localized decision.
And I would agree with that myself. There's still a protective piece of having a phone on the student. It's the parents and the administrators and the teachers are able to control the use of it. But to take it away is not in the best interest of the kids for a safety standpoint.
And again, that's largely how the board predicated the last code of conduct.
Did she specify in terms of locked bags to store phones in, or just not allowed in the school?
No, she was gonna leave that for a local decision, and using Middletown as an example, they made a very, very large investment into what they call the yonder pouches up there. I speak with the superintendent from there regularly. It's a management piece. They're in a better place than they were 6 months ago, but it still is a management piece that they deal with on a regular basis.
And that goes to my next question, has the governor set aside any funding or grants for schools for this?
No.
Does this come out of our own?
No conversation on additional funding with this whatsoever, so. To be honest, I don't anticipate any funding coming with this. I think it would be too significant for the state to take on at this time when they're talking about foundation aid issues. I just don't see anything additional coming.
And we just start the new school year, is there any timeline?
There's no timeline attached. I would guess that they would probably push it out at least 6 months, because you have to have time for districts to meet to figure out what that enforcement is gonna look like, enforcement and management.
I would definitely support the idea of starting a committee and getting a committee together to have discussions with all the stakeholders. Regarding our code of conduct, I wouldn't make any changes. I wouldn't support making any changes to it right now or until legislation is actually passed. I think we did. We had a lot of conversations and we adopted a policy with stakeholders consideration involved in that planning. So I would support just leaving it the same as it is right now until there's further action from our legislature.
Agreed.
I second that as well. I think that the process we saw with the cross section of folks that we had here during the Code of Conduct Committee, I think that went really well, went a long way. Lots of good insight from each of the different building levels and getting that process started, now, no matter where the legislation falls. I think that's a good idea. At least we'll get a sense of the input we have.
The next item that I wanted to bring up, Ms. Van Lameren and I had an opportunity to meet with a representative from Bus Patrol, who is a third-party contractor with, currently with Orange County and Rockland County, as a matter of fact. They being Orange County, have earmarked funds to be able to allow school districts to enter into an agreement with them to install stop arm cameras on school buses. They are seeing data that is proving that the amount of citations, issues that are being issued from these is effective. It's stopping issues of people passing stop school buses. This would be at no expense to the school district. The management of the videos that come off go directly from the camera to Bus Patrol to a central location that is currently run by the county. And the county is the one that makes the decision based on the videos that it sees, whether or not it goes ahead and issues a citation. The Washingtonville School District right next door has done this. I believe Newburgh has done this as well. And we reached out to the county and the county is anxious for us to consider getting on board as well. They sent us a template agreement of what a contract proposal would look like. Mainly, it covers things like education law 2D, some of the videos, the safety and security of the videos, if you will. And I forward that off to legal counsel just to get them to vet it. And I'll bring more information and potentially consideration for the board to approve the agreement in the future.
If you don't mind, I just. Sure. I think some follow-up information would be great. I think the more cameras we have and the more view to improve safety is a fantastic idea. And especially if these cameras are coming at an initial no cost. Fantastic. The county's going to oversee the videos. All pluses and positives in my mind. I would be curious to know, at time X in the future, should the funding run out where the county cannot support paying the staff to operate these things, is that gonna be something that we have to pay for? And at the time, if there was a change in the agreement, the hardware that's installed, does the hardware now belong to us? Or does the hardware get owned by the county? And then would we have to pay later to have the hardware removed? So those would just be some follow-up questions. Sure. I'd be curious to know.
Absolutely. And fun.
No, I know you're looking at, I have them installed. I was one of the first districts in Rockland County to have them done. So obviously, I'll let Dr. Coates go ahead and ask legal all these, but for the most part, most of your answers, I think you'll be pleased with. As far as funding for it, it's a third party they're coming in and they're installing all the equipment, because when they issue tickets to people who are passing the buses, there's a sliding scale on how much that company will take. The rest of the money goes to the county. The local municipalities don't see any funding for it, the school doesn't see any funding for it. So it's in their best interest to supply these, which are a great asset to the school district, will provide awesome footage for anything that they will need to look into. So, I mean, as far as this, I think it's a great initiative, and it definitely opens up the eyes to everyone who is driving around. We often receive phone calls about a car that might have passed the bus while a child's getting off. So the idea is really to curb that. So as far as the funding goes, they make their money off of the tickets. And it's great. They do a fantastic job installing it, knowing that we have our own buses in Goshen. I don't where I work, but I've seen them installed. They really do a pretty good job on that. But I didn't want to step on, so I'll let Dr. Coates continue to ask, but I would be in full support of this initiative, because it really is super helpful, and from the school point, again, the footage is very valuable.
There's 3 sets of cameras on the bus. There's one that goes in the front, the back, and then one on the stop arm. And it catches basically a 180-degree view around the bus, so that you can see someone coming and passing the bus. The demo that they gave us was pretty impressive. All right. Okay, and last but not least, it is that time of the year where we have to start to think about emergency closing announcements. And as everyone knows, we have transitioned from school messenger over to parent square. We will also be using that, and the information went out to the families in CJ Hooker, or will be going out to the families in CJ Hooker for parent-teacher conference sign up. Again, our goal is to try to take many different software platforms and start to condense that down to a one-stop shop, if you will. But additionally, in the next couple of weeks, we will be doing a test run of the new Parent Square to just make sure the announcement goes out, the phone system works as it is supposed to, that's attached to it. But we'll make sure that we get messaging out so everyone knows that it's fully a test before we do so. That will conclude for me this evening. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Dr. Coates. Moving on to our next item, our Assistant Superintendent of Business Report, Ms. Lorraine Vance on that one.
Thank you. Tonight, I do not have anything to report. I'll have the financial information at the next meeting.
Thank you very much. Moving on then to our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Instruction, Personnel, and Technology Report, Mr. Jason Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Loftus. Once again, good evening, everyone. So as many of you know, tomorrow is Superintendent's Conference Day. So we'd like to just take a moment and offer a brief summary of what we have planned for tomorrow. So we'll begin in the morning with restorative practices. Once again, some training with Susan Delani from West Ed, this time starting with our Buildings and Grounds Department. So they'll be going through the initial training that most of us had in early September. As we move into the afternoon for restorative practice training, we'll move into more of a train the trainer model, where we will have 2 staff members from each building who essentially will be briefed on the main or core tenets of restorative practices so that they can become the pros in the building, the go-to, if you will. We're hoping that this will help to ensure some of the sustainability and longevity that we look for with restorative practice. Again, that's with Susan Luani from West Ed. We had an opportunity to set up some of our aides in the elementary level, mostly classroom aides and one-to-one aides with a training at Orange Ulster BOCES tomorrow. And this will work hand in hand with our scholastic literacy trainings as well. So tomorrow we'll have approximately 20 of our aides in the district heading over to BOCES for listening and speaking as a learning foundation for reading and writing. And again, this is something that we believe will go hand in hand with a lot of our scholastic training. So our goal here is to help our classroom aides and our one-to-one aides essentially learn effective steps within the classroom environment to support instruction in reading and writing. So we're excited about that for tomorrow. And again, it's approximately 20 aides. As I had just mentioned, we do have scholastic literacy training again tomorrow. That will be K-6. And the focus there is primarily on the components of the writing portions of the program. So again, we'll talk about not only the components, but best practices in the classroom environment as well. At the high school, we have the second part of our care training. So this particular training will involve our staff members. If you recall, in October, we had our students go through the training. So now it's time for around 50 of our staff members to go through the care training. And this is a focus on violence prevention and essentially building up our community response and resilience. So we're really happy to have that in our high school as well. We'll have our district-wide speech and language providers or pathologists meeting with a representative of our PPS department at Scotchtown tomorrow. And the goal there is to discuss programming or the continuum of programming. So we anticipate that that'll be somewhere between 60 to 90 minutes with our speech and language pathologist district-wide. We'll also have Mr. St. Lawrence running a district-wide PE meeting, just talking about program enhancements for the 24-25 school year, and then also sharing a lot of the information from Ms. Van Put-Lamrand's office regarding budgeting and moving forward in preparation for next school year. And then finally, we've given the opportunity for our building level administrators to really take on their building-wide initiatives, whether it be data teams or whatever it may be. They'll have time to work on their building level initiatives within their buildings tomorrow. So that should wrap up our superintendent's conference day. And I also wanted to just remind everyone that we do have World Language Honor Society inductions on Thursday evening at 5:30. And then we do have another training that we couldn't quite sneak into tomorrow. So on the 7th, we have a group of approximately 15 staff members who will work with Ed Killenberger and Kirsten Swain from the high school for 2 days, actually, the 7th and the 14th, to go through, train, and receive certification in first aid and CPR through the Red Cross. So I'd like to thank all of our administrators who were able to put together these individual trainings that we have and collaborating with us to make all of this happen. I think we've got a great day planned for tomorrow, and we look forward to what we have on the 7th with our Honor Society presentations or inductions. And that will end my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Found in Shannon. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education accepts the retirement of Lori Vandemark, school bus driver, effective November 2nd, 2024. Ms. Vandemark has been with the district for 30 years. Be it further resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the remainder of the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor? Abstain? All right. Good luck, Ms. Vandemark, in all your future endeavors. All right, I need a motion to approve the increase to the reserve funds. Ashley and Scott. Be resolved that the Board of Education of the Goshen Central School District authorizes the transfer from 2023-2024 unappropriated fund balance as follows. Capital Reserve Fund, $2,107,213. TRS Sub-Fund Reserve, $496,233. Insurance Reserve, $100,000. All those in favor? Opposed? All right, I need a motion to approve the minutes. Billy and Shannon. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the minutes of the October 21st, 2024 regular board meeting. All those in favor? Opposed? I need a motion to accept the recommendations of the Committee of Special Education and Committee on Preschool Special Education. Right, got it? Be resolved that the Board of Education hereby arranges for the special education programs and services based upon the recommendations made for preschool and school-age students with disabilities by the Committee on Preschool Special Education, CPSE, and Committee on Special Education, CSE, during the period October 9th, 2024 through and including October 25th, 2024, and directs the district to arrange for the provisions of said special education program services to such preschool and school-age students with disabilities as recommended during such time period by the CPSE and CSE. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Need a motion to award the RFP for internal audit services to Cooper Areas LLP. Shannon and John. Whereas the Board of Education of Goshen Central School District is seeking an internal auditor for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025, and June 30th, 2027. And whereas the Board of Education has requested proposals for such internal audit services from qualified CPA firms through a legal ad and personal contact by the Assistant Superintendent for Business. And whereas the district received 2 proposals, reviewed them, and has determined that it wishes to award the RFP for professional internal independent audit services to Cooper Arias LLP. Now therefore be it resolved upon the recommendations of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education awards the RFP for professional internal audit services for the fiscal years ending June 30th, 2025, 26, 27 at an annual fee of $6,000, $6,250, and $6,500 respectively to Cooper Areas LLP in accordance with the district's request for proposals and the cost proposal submitted by Cooper Areas LLP on October 7, 2024. We further resolve that Cooper Areas LLP shall be appointed internal auditor each of the next 2 years at the annual reorganization meeting. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, I need a motion to establish account in the Goshen High School Classroom Activity Fund. Ashley and Scott. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools that account for the following club be established within the Extra Classroom Activity Fund at Goshen High School. Rapid Kindness Club, Faculty Advisor, Liana Rodelli. Be it further resolved that the Faculty Club Advisor are authorized to sign disbursement orders, receipts, and otherwise oversee the account in accordance with the district policy and the procedures outlined in the New York State Education Department guidelines entitled Safeguarding Accounting and Auditing of Extra Classroom Activity Funds. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Need a motion to approve budgetary transfers. Billy and Brett. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education approves the following budgetary transfers in aggregate over $105,000 due to increased special education enrollment and the creation of a new COSER at BOCES dated 10/24/24, the amount of $1,301,912. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Need a motion to approve legal services for Shaw, Harrelson, May, and Lambert LLP. John and Shannon. Be resolved that the Board of Education hereby authorizes the law firm of Shaw, Harrelson, May, and Lambert LLP to serve as legal counsel to render legal services regarding tax certiorari matters for which the law firm has been engaged with such services, provided at the hourly rate of $225, pursuant to the provisions of an engagement letter dated October 25th, 2024, as presented to the board. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Need a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding, Mercer University. John, Billy. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education approves entering into a memorandum of understanding with Mercer University for the Goshen Central School District to provide school counseling trainee opportunities for students enrolled in Mercer University's program. Be it further resolved, the Board of Education authorizes the Superintendent of Schools to execute the memorandum of understanding. All those in favor? Opposed? Need a motion to approve the declaration of negative impact under seeker for proposed action. Ashley. Shannon. State Environmental Quality Review Act, classification of proposed proposed action and determination of significance. Whereas the Board of Education of the Goshen Central School District is proposing to convey to the Village of Goshen the real property and improvements owned by the board and consisting of approximately 1.6 acres of vacant land located at 29 Erie Street, Goshen, New York, 10924, which is no longer needed for school purposes. And whereas the proposed action is subject to the review under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, (SEQRA), and its implementing regulations at 6 NYCRR Part 617. And whereas the district is the single agency involved in and directly undertaking the proposed action, and no other potential involved agencies have been identified with regard to the proposed action. And whereas the board has considered the information and documentation which describes the design and intent of the proposed action as set forth in Part 1 of the short environmental assessment form, a copy of which is annexed here to as Exhibit A. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Goshen Central School District, in accordance with the applicable standards of SEQRA and its implementing regulations at 6 NYCRR Part 617, hereby classifies the proposed action as an unlisted action, designates itself as lead agency, as the district is the single agency involved in and directly undertaking the proposed action, determines that based upon the record before it, including the general, specific, and detailed knowledge regarding the proposed action and the assessment of any environmental impacts contained in the short environmental assessment form, which is incorporated by reference herein, the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. Issues a negative declaration for the proposed action, and directs that the board's determination of significance and negative declaration on the proposed action will be filed with the district clerk. All those in favor? Opposed? 30 seconds. All right. All right, next I need a motion to approve the agreement with the Village of Goshen District's Erie Street property. Ashley and Billy. Whereas the Board of Education of the Goshen Central School District desires to convey to the Village of Goshen the real property and improvements owned by the board and consisting of approximately 1.6 acres of vacant land located at 29 Erie Street, Goshen, New York, 10924, as the property is no longer needed for school purposes. And whereas the village wishes to acquire ownership of the property from the district for a public purpose, to wit, a public park, and whereas the district is permitted by New York Education Law Section 405 to convey the property to the village, provided the conveyance is approved by a referendum conducted as required by law, and further provided that the village utilizes the property for a public purpose in perpetuity. And whereas the required referendum will result in costs and expenses to the district totaling $57,187.40, regardless of results. And whereas the village has agreed to pay said costs and expenses regardless of the outcome of the referendum. And whereas the board has previously determined that the proposed conveyance of the property will not result in significant adverse environmental impacts pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act and its implementing regulations at 6 NYCRR Part 617. And whereas the board desires to enter into an agreement with the village to memorialize the above. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Goshen Central School District hereby determines that the property located at 29 Erie Street, Goshen, New York, 10924 is no longer needed for school purposes, and be it further resolved that the board approves and authorizes the president to sign the agreement in substantially the same form as attached hereto as Exhibit A, subject to review by the district's attorney, a full executed copy of which will be placed on file with the district clerk. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we need a motion to approve the notice of special school district meeting. Shannon and Billy. Whereas the Board of Education of the Goshen Central School District has approved an agreement with the Village of Goshen to convey real property owned by the school district consisting of approximately 1.6 acres of vacant land located at 29 Erie Street, Goshen, New York, 10924. And whereas before all right, title, and interest in the property may be conveyed to the Village of Goshen, Section 405 of the New York Education Law requires that such conveyance be submitted to the qualified voters of the school district for approval. Now therefore be it hereby resolved by the Board of Education of the Goshen Central School District as follows. Section 1. A special school district meeting in and for the Goshen Central School District shall be held on Tuesday, January 14th, 2025, at the Main Street Building, 227 Main Street, Goshen, New York. And the polls shall be kept open for voting between the hours of 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock p.m. Prevailing time and on said date. The proposition hereafter set forth in said notice of said meeting shall be submitted at such special school district meeting. Section 2. Voting at said meeting shall be conducted by the use of voting machines. Section 3. School district clerk is hereby authorized and directed to cause a notice of said meeting in substantially the form attached hereto as Exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference to be published in the newspapers having a general circulation in said school district. Such publication shall be made so that such notice shall appear in said newspaper each 4 times within 7 weeks next preceding such district meeting. First publication to be at least 45 days, but preferably not more than 49 days before said meeting, and to give such other notices as may be deemed desirable. Section 4. The school district clerk is hereby authorized to amend the notice of said special school district meeting from time to time, as in his or her discretion, such amendment may be required or desirable. Section 5. To the extent required by law, the board shall appoint personnel to conduct said special school district meeting pursuant to a separate resolution of the Board of Education. Section 6. This resolution shall take effect immediately. All those in favor? Opposed? All right, I need a motion to approve individual agreements for special education services, sub-allocation of IDEA 611 and 619 funds. Scott and Brett. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education enters into individual agreements with the Field of Dreams Preschool, Learning Together, and Green Chimneys to provide special education services for students for the district to sub-allocate IDEA 611 and 619 funds to said providers on a per student basis for the grant year between July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. All those in favor? Opposed? All right, I need a motion to approve the rescheduling of the January 13th, 2025 Board of Education meeting. John and Ashley. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves rescheduling the Monday, January 13th, 2025 board meeting to Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
I'm just realizing as we're going through it, you said that there's no concerns or problems later. You have 2 15.7s. Okay, and 2 15.8s. Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
I was going back
Okay.
like this.
I just wanna make
looking
sure
at the
we're all
numbers,
good.
yes.
okay.
No, thank you for pointing that out. That's. All right, gonna have to take 2, guys.
Take another sip of water.
Another bottle, please. All right. All right, that does conclude new business. I don't believe we have any additional privilege of floor signups.
We don't, I didn't sign up, but can I speak? I didn't realize we talked about like the cameras on the school buses and stuff.
Can
Is that
you just
okay?
put your name on the form real quick?
Yeah, that's fine.
So we'll take a 30-second pause for a quick sign up. Thank you. I needed some time to drink. Late. No.
I'm sorry, I wasn't planning on speaking at all, so.
All right, so earlier I did not read the disclaimer, but we're gonna give the brief bullet point, 4 minutes, can be extended,
Crystal tape.
not exceeding 32. Don't say anyone's name or their title and all the other stuff about.
No problem.
Okay, I just abridged version after all the reading.
The shorter the
Thank you.
better.
You should press
Push
the
the
button.
button. Oh,
And
yeah.
we have Amy Winkler.
I just wanted to say, I was happy to hear about the possible stop arm camera partnership. Because ironically, 5 years ago today, my son was hit by a car during dismissal up at the high school. And there was a car going 30 and a 15. We do have cameras on the buses right now and the buildings surrounding it, which was able to capture a lot of it, which was helpful, but I think upgraded cameras would be even more helpful because safety is definitely our number one concern for all of our kids and everything else. So that's really it. So the more you can push for that, the better. Thank you. Sorry.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for sharing. All right. Let's go to our next item. Any board member issues? Comments? I had 3 quick items here. I just wanted to bring up for input. All right, so the first item I have here is in our policy, in our governance manual, it talks about a board self-evaluation process. And during our policy meeting, we discussed with Maureen what evaluation tools other boards might be using. And she had printed out for everybody the different board evaluation tools that are being used. Right now, we are signed up for the Super Eval tool, which we use. I think everybody's familiar with that platform. But there's also another printout here from NISBA for their platform on doing a board self-evaluation tool. So I just thought if you guys wanted to take a quick look at that, see if there was any input or feedback as to which tool you might like to consider moving forward, we can put that on our agenda to go through.
Because we're used to using Super Eval already. I guess my question would be, is there any cost related to these, already?
Wait for a callback.
On both?
No, I think NISBA has what you have there. You can just click on it and it gives you the tool itself. So again, I'm also waiting for a callback to NISBA as well to confirm that. But I'm thinking not because it's available on the website.
So do we have,
Which is probably, I think there's probably more mechanism where you have to analyze it yourself and statistically give it some numbers. Whereas Super Eval, I believe, they analyze the information.
No, thank you, yeah,
That's
just to wait for the
preliminary
cost.
information, but
You
yeah,
get that.
one that
Thank you.
cost and other information as well.
it might be a little easier to just hop online and see which interface is, it might be a little bit simpler, so maybe we take this and bring it back next time around. I like the cost question. Right, great. The second item I wanted to just bring up with the team here, I talked to Maureen about it a little bit. In the last policy meeting, a handful of the policies talked about the board doing an annual review of certain items. I'm just flipping back here. A couple of them that pop out to me are page. I think under facilities development and under construction, both of those had items where they recommended an annual review. And so I started noticing in some of these policies, as I'm sure many of you have, this recommendation for an annual review. And in our governance handbook, we have other items mentioned. So I thought it might be wise to compile a list of all of the policies that mention a required board overview and that timeline and that frequency. And maybe we create an exhibit and add it to our governance manual in our handbook. So it's just kind of laid out from the beginning of the year. Every time we roll through, we kind of have that forecast of what we should look at. And then I think it can help us, whether it be facilities or instruction, we could then ahead of time talk to Dr. Coates, who in turn could talk to the team about what they could present us, how is this information being presented in other districts, and how does that look? Makes sense. Yeah, agreed. All right, great. So yeah, Maureen, if we can start some conversations on penciling some of that together, that'd be a big help. Thank you. And the last item I just wanted to bring up with the team was, there was a brief discussion just informally about maybe an idea of a paperless meeting. And I just would welcome feedback from anybody, Dr. Coates, the rest of the team, Maureen. How would you feel about having a Chromebook and a paperless version of the meeting? Thoughts, comments, concerns?
I support it.
Okay. Maybe we could make a plan between, I mean, I certainly want to have, I wouldn't want to have to buy any new Chromebooks or anything. I'd want to be able to use whatever we have.
We have a full set in the cabinet already.
Oh,
I just don't
great.
know, they need to be updated.
Okay, so maybe Dr. Coates, I'll turn it over to you to talk to IT, to Maureen, whenever you think that might be a good, we'll do a test run. See how it works. Okay, great. Those were the comments I had. Anything else? All right. All right, moving on, I think we need a motion for executive session. John, you ready? Be resolved that the Board of Education will enter into executive session with the intent not to reconvene business portion of the meeting for discussions related to the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person, persons, or corporation. All those in favor? Opposed? All right, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night.